that sound.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Verinin podcast, season 2. Today, I'm really excited to have a dear friend here on this episode. She's an author. She's an EQ coach, a life coach, wellness coach at Metamorphosis Life Coaching. She's climbed mountains, literally. She's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya, and Mount Elbrus. I'm really excited to announce and to introduce you to Shareez Bagaria. Shareez, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So Shareez, you have an interesting journey and an interesting story. So I want to firstly delve in as to the individual who is Shareez Bagaria. So can you tell us a bit about your upbringing?
Mm-hmm. So I grew up in a lovely town, I would like to call it, Chatsworth, in the 80s. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a housewife. And we had a very middle class upbringing. We had a strong sense of family values, education, hard work. My dad always instilled in us the value of studying and education, being, a teacher and a principal himself. And we had a really normal life in the sense of defining normal. Mom, dad, and just a happy home. Everything was provided, and we lived in a very, very warm community. Our neighbors became our friends, and we lived there for more than 30 plus years in Silver Glen. So it was really, really a wonderful home where my parents were very loving, very affectionate. They always affirmed us. They always said, "I love you. I'm proud of you." We grew up with lots of hugs and kisses. When I speak to people today and I tell them this is how I grew up, and some share the way they were raised, I'm so grateful that I had that, because I can in turn do the same with my children, and that's the family that we grew up in.
Wow, that's an interesting story. 30 years, That's a long time. And I think the audience can attest to you being an EQ coach. I felt a lot of depth in that discussion, so really appreciate that. Thank you. What sort of challenges did you face in the community or growing up, like something dear to you? You don't have to share something very deep, but whatever you're comfortable with. Is there any challenges through your childhood that you had to overcome?
No, actually, I was so oblivious to what was going on in our home or in the community, because I think my parents sheltered us from a lot of challenges they faced. And those challenges were purely financial, because my dad was a teacher. There were 4 kids, and he put all of us through university. How on earth do you do that on a teacher's salary? All 4 of our siblings are all university degrees, professionals. So I think they shielded us a lot from that. So we grew up thinking everything was perfect and life was fine, So I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but that's how we grew up. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Now, there's something that has become really common nowadays. People talk about a life coach, and people want a life coach. And I certainly feel, this is just my personal opinion, that it is a necessity, and people do need that, because I'm not going to unpack that, but I want you to unpack that. Because people usually get this wrong and mix the definitions of it. What would you say is a life coach, firstly? And then what do you do as a life coach?
Okay, so a life coach is very much, the profession started with a tennis coach in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's where the concept of life coaching came from. And it's very similar to a sports coach. It's somebody that will take you from where you are to where you want to be in your personal life, in your personal development. So we're looking at areas like relationships, career, finances, if you're a parent, how do I get better? So it's purely understanding where you are at this point in your life and where is it that you want to be. You want to set some goals. It's action-based, goal-driven, very output-driven, and the coach is there to deliver results. The coach of a sports team is there to bring results, and that's my job, is to help people achieve results in the various areas that they are looking at, and the how behind how do I get there. A lot of people know where they want to go. I want to get to run a comrades. But the how, the training, the daily practice, the mindset, the discipline, the motivation is where a coach comes in. And often people just also need an accountability partner. Someone that's going to say, we're meeting every day at this time, and I'm going to push you, whether it's a physical coach or like me, a life coach. Hey, you said you were going to get your CV up and running. It's now Friday. Where's the CV? Have you posted your details on LinkedIn? If you want that job, these are the steps you need to take to get there. So that's more or less the job function of a coach.
Very nicely explained and unpacked. And I think it also falls like with what Jordan Peterson said is one of his rules, like, for yourself, you will neglect yourself. But if I'm accountable to you, I feel bad to let you down. So we got to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever it takes for people to get to be their best or live their best life or to achieve, whether it's through an accountability partner or whether it's just somebody motivating you and saying, I'm proud of you, you can do it. You've ran the 5K, now let's tackle a 10K. Somebody just to be there to support you to get to where you want to be. Nicely
said. So, a life coach, how do you deal with failures and setbacks? Because I know usually people get discouraged at the first sense of adversity, or you think you failed, although you're actually making incremental progress towards something and like wanting to face a challenge, but you feel like demotivated. So how do you deal with failure and setbacks?
It's really difficult because the world and people like to talk about all the successes. They like to talk about how well they're doing. I came first, I did this, but nobody talks openly about the failures, and nobody posts those failures, and nobody shares those failures to say that failure is the stepping stone to success. It's part of the journey. And the lessons are far greater in the failures than they are in the successes. So the lessons that I've learned, which I might share later on about things that have not gone the way I wanted it to, how do you switch your perspective to say, what did I learn from that? Was it really a failure? Because failure is a social construct. It's something that society has made up. Did you really fail, or did you gain that much of experience to try again the second time? So how do you switch the perspective? And are you going to say, now, just because I've had one setback, I'm going to quit the whole plan that I had, or the entire goal that I was striving towards? And I think if we interview all the successful people in the world, they would share those failures that they've had. I mean, Elon Musk is somebody that's very open about how he literally lost almost everything. I think it was 2001, 2002, the last bit of money he had, and he put it back and changed his business strategy and came literally from nowhere. Everything had gone wrong, everything. The Tesla, SpaceX, everything had gone wrong. So we need to talk a lot more about the failures, and we need to share the insights and the learnings from the failures to help us to grow.
Agreed. I totally agree. Is there one example that you have in your life that may have been a setback that you've overcome? And while you're busy loading that up, I'll say as well, I've failed many times in my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't failed. Exactly. Like, coming back to your points of what you mentioned, it's like something that's there that, like, maybe you fail by your own definition, by somebody else's definition, it's a success.
Exactly. Yeah. So, last year I went to Mount Elbrus to climb Europe's highest mountain. And throughout, it was a 6-day expedition, and everything was fine until the summit night. So we all put our gear on, you get ready, and it's like 12:01 a.m. and then we wake up and the wind speeds are 50 to 60 kilometers per hour. And it's pitch dark and the wind is on your face, and then we get to the point where we start the trek up, and literally every few steps we took, we would get knocked down, beaten down by the wind, stand up, start moving forward, beaten down, stand up, start moving. And this went on for like 5 or 6 hours until the sunlight came up, and we rounded a place called the ridge, where you come around and then it's the final stretch up to the summit point. And the guide says to us, we all have to turn around. 7 days of hard work, hiking in the mountains, carrying your backpack in the snow, and you're 150, 200 meters, vertical meters from the summit. And the guide says, turn around, because you all are going to die, fall off the mountain. People had fallen off. Someone broke their leg. Someone was lost. So nobody had summited that day. And it was really disappointing. But when I came back down, people were saying to me, you know what, 99% of people would not even attempt that. You went up there. It's a success in my eyes. So I started to reframe the whole experience and to say, and the minute I came down, that instinct in me kicked in and said, I'm going back again. I need to go back again because I have to finish it. So I switched it to say, what did I learn from it? I learned so much. I learned how to do technical climbing with ropes, with crampons in the snow, to use an ice axe. I was able to navigate in those wind speeds. So I know when the wind hits again, what do I do? How do I brace myself? How do I fall? So there was a lot of learnings in that kind of failure. And yeah, I mean, that's been the most painful one for many reasons, but we pick up and we go again because it's something that I need to complete.
Wow, but well done to you on achieving that. That's an accomplishment altogether.
Thank you.
We are 100% going to unpack that mountain stuff just now.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, so what is something that motivates you? What fuels your drive to want to perform better, to do better, to be better in life? Because like, I'll tell you why. Like with me, it's like I've come to appreciate creative arts. Like I get fueled up through, like, if I take clips of through myself, like my training processes, when I had a rigid training schedule, or like I was involved in certain activities, and you play that back, it's like something that pushes you to move forward. An illustration, you look at it every day, it like shows you your potential and where you are, where you want to go towards. So what fuels you?
So there are actually many things, you know, like I look at people who have less and are doing far more than me. And I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, what's your excuse today? Because I see people that live in villages that make weights with buckets and cement and a stick. And in a rural area, they are training. What's my excuse? That I have the comforts of a vehicle, a gym. Why am I not training? So those days where I don't feel like doing something, I say that there are people with far less that are doing far more. What's my excuse? And I think the perspective is that we all are born with so many gifts and talents. And it would be such a shame to die without knowing what those gifts and talents are. That's one. And the other thing is without using them. So I constantly ask myself, you know, what is it that I want to do? What are my goals? What are my 3-year, 5-year, 7-year plans? How can I extend myself further with my knowledge? What is the next course that I'm going to study? Because the sky's the limit. As long as you are breathing and you have a brain that's working and you have limbs that can move and are functional, you have purpose. And with that purpose, you get to impact the world. And that's another thing that motivates me. The impact of other people hearing your story, other people being inspired by what you do, it has a ripple effect. You're doing something for yourself, but you also end up inspiring other people, motivating others. It's like kind of like a chain reaction, which, you know, I know a lot of people say to me, thank you, you know, now I started hiking, or thank you, I've explored writing. I've explored different avenues of my life. And I always tell people, you're not just a mom, especially women, you're not just a mom and a wife. That's not your be all and end all, and to die just being a mother and a wife. You know, you're a dancer, you're a writer, you're a sports person, you're a swimmer, you're a speaker. So there's so many roles and facets to us. We need to be open to exploring those options and to say, how do I use my gifts and talents? But how do I use them for good also?
Very nicely said. I can feel the authenticity of the message coming through. And I follow a lot of your content on social media. And I can see you do that. You serve as an inspiration and you motivate people and inspire. Like I see your content sometimes and I feel bad. Like, what did I do today? Yeah. And you're busy doing this. So it does help. It's really good. I want to shift it to this next part of it, which is like strong things, difficult things, hard things, like doing, why does hard things matter? You know, there's a quote, something along the lines, and I make it wrong, but it's like, you know, hard times make strong men make easy times make weak people. Like, why doing difficult things matter? Like, you know, there's something about like physical exercise, like that component that just gives you that edge in life. You perform better throughout your parts of it. So
I like to use the analogy of muscle growth. Okay. So muscle, when you know you've done training, if you want to build muscle, you have to break it down first. When you break it down, it repairs and grows and it gets bigger. So similarly, difficult things do that to us mentally and physically and emotionally. It helps us grow. It helps your brain problem solve better. Your body gets stronger. So we need to embrace doing hard things, you know. So when my kids were little and they'd want help with the school bags, the bags are heavy, I'd say, no, pick the bag up, put it on your shoulders, carry it to the car. When we were little, we were walking with our school bags. Do it yourself, do it yourself, do it yourself, do it yourself. Because it builds strength, it builds resilience, it builds determination. And first you're lifting 5 kgs and you thought, oh wow, I could never lift those 5 kgs, I'm so sore. As your muscle grows, what happens? You're lifting 10, you're lifting 15, you're lifting 20. So the same analogy can be used for problems in the world. You know, when you start thinking on that level that here's something challenging, let me tackle it, let me see how I can solve it. Your brain goes into that mode of, okay, what's next? What's harder than this? What's more challenging than this that I could solve? And it just becomes totally limitless. So that's the analogy that I like to use, that by embracing hard things, even personally, things like, a lot of people say to me, I don't know how to say no. I don't know how to put in a boundary. I'm scared. So I'm like, go in front of the mirror and just say to yourself, no, 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 no. Keep speaking it, practice it, say no all the time. And then when that person that's shirking off at work wants you to do their Excel spreadsheet, you simply say to them, I'm so sorry, I don't have the capacity, I'm not able to do this. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. So that's where that concept comes in of something that is difficult, practice it, and you get better at it.
Nice. Perfect segue into my next part of it. Yeah. What is the mountain mindset that you refer to?
So the mountain mindset is, firstly, you have this big, massive goal that you're looking at. In the mountain, you don't look at the summit. It's broken down into 6 or 7 days, however long your expedition is. In Everest, it's 40 to 50 days.
Wow.
People are not looking at the summit. They're looking at, how do I get from one camp to the next? How do I get from today to tomorrow? And you build on that, and eventually you do get to the summit. You don't think about it, but you're building on it, and you do. You don't look up to the summit. You look down at your feet, and you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going. And I mean, when I did Kilimanjaro, that's the exact attitude I had. My thing was, I don't want to think about the summit night. I'm just going to get from one camp to the next, which is one day to the next. How do I get from one day to the next? Putting one foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other gets me through to 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, finally 5 p.m. I'm at camp 4. So that's one mindset. The second mindset is that even though you have the challenges of it being cold, you're sleeping in a tent, you have limited water, you don't have showers, physical discomforts. Actually going through that difficulties, those physical challenges, makes you stronger. At the end of it, I never thought I would go 8 days without taking a shower. Which person? I did. I survived. Now it's nothing big to me. Now if someone says to me there's no water for 2-3 days, I'm like, big deal. Get a bucket, wash yourself, and move on. So your mind really gets shaped into embracing the hardships, knowing that it's one day at a time mindset towards the bigger goal, and eventually one day at a time takes you through to the summit. And there's lots of different analogies for the mountain. You know that sometimes it's not even about the summit, it's about the journey. It's about the people you meet along the way. Sometimes you might not get to the summit, but what are the takeaways from that? For me, like Russia, was visiting a different place. It's the first time I'd been there. First time I'd been alone. Well, not alone, but I mean, first time in a different place, learning the culture, how the place is, how people live. So many different takeaways. The friendships I met so many different people. I met friends from the US that I'm still in touch with, friends from India. So sometimes in the journey to our goal, it's not just about the goal, it's the people along the way and those experiences that shape us.
So Shareez, what lessons can people learn from climbing mountains and doing these difficult things, the stuff that you mentioned, like, callousing your mind to get through these toughness? Like what lessons can you extract from that?
You can extract, well, for me personally, it is the concept of, I thought that Kilimanjaro was so difficult and how will I get through? But little did I realize how strong I was. I think that's the biggest lesson, is that you don't know how strong and how much you can actually do with your life and push through. And It is to be able to dream big and set the bar really high. Have high expectations from yourself and low expectations from others. Constantly ask yourself, how can I do better? How can I be better? How can I learn more? How can I have a growth mindset? I like to talk about a growth mindset, which is progressive, which is thinking of constantly bettering yourself, which is not being petty and stuck in small things that are frivolous and a waste of time. So yeah, that's it.
Nicely said. I think that carries into your business life, your business personality, your personal life as well. Like throughout your daily life, you can always like pick something up that's specific for the day. Like, okay, I have a difficult task. I have to go speak in front of like 10,000 people. But it's like you've climbed mountains, you've done difficult things. So how difficult is this now?
Exactly. And that's what happens is when you start achieving and accomplishing, it builds on your confidence. A lot of people that have low confidence, it's because they haven't ventured out. They haven't gotten over that fear to say, okay, fine, I did this. This was the most difficult thing that I went through. And this was challenging for me. I know I can do this. I know I can overcome. I know I can break through that fear component and push ahead.
Yeah, you certainly have a nice balance because you're tough as nails and you're still kind. So you have the balance, that empathetic side nature as well. So, but at the same time, growing people, like as you mentioned with the kids, helping them, letting them struggle to carry the bags and stuff. But it's like, teaching them lessons, you're growing them. Now, somebody aspiring to reach the highest potential, and that's part of a journey that I'm on as well. What advice would you give to somebody as a life coach? Simple things like what could they do in their life to help them reach the highest goal? Maybe there's tips and tricks you figured out along the way. Like, for an example, don't be too difficult on yourself. Like, start tomorrow as a new day, forget what you've done yesterday, just as an example. So what would you say?
The first thing is that I tell all my clients is action brings results. Action. You cannot say, I wish I was doing X, Y, and Z. I wish I had a better job. I wish I looked a different way. You've got to go out and get it done. My philosophy is get it done. Whatever it is, I'm tough. And I'll say it straight. There is things to be done and you need to get it done. And at the end of the day, if you don't, you're making excuses. Excuses never bring you any results. So if there's something you want to do, execute it. Write it down, break it down, unpack it. How do I get there? How do I get to be that person? What resources do I have? What do I need to do to get to where I want to be? It's as simple as that. Unfortunately, dreams and wishes remain dreams and wishes without action. You want to climb a mountain, start hiking. Go and spend 2 nights in the Berg, which is what I did. Spend 2-3 nights in the Berg. See if you like it, if it's for you. Set small goals that build up to that big Kilimanjaro or that big Everest. The people that are climbing Everest didn't just go to Everest. They've been around many different hiking paths, mountains, learning, failing, falling. I fell so many times in Russia. When I came back to the room, my knees were blue and black. My shoulder was bruised. I mean, it's part of the journey. It's part of the lessons. It's part of the learning. And don't look at the first setback as I've got to give up, because resilience is not something we're born with. It's something we have to cultivate and work at. It's a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more it grows. And the more mentally strong you become. When you look at the problem, you don't look at the problem. You think, okay, this is the problem. Let me take 5 minutes and think, what are possible solutions? And how do I tackle it? People get overwhelmed and give up because they think there's no solution. I always tell people, everything in life is figure-outable. Everything in life is figure-outable. There's an option, there's a plan, there is a way to work around it. People get stumped because they can't find solutions. So those are some of the things that you learn along the way by doing hard things, is to shift also your mindset, shift your perspective, shift it completely to say, a lot of people want to say, woe is me, it's a victim mentality. So much has happened to me, but Shareez, my parents did this and my sister did this and my husband is like that. I'm like, fine, everybody's carrying those burdens. Everybody's carrying something. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to say, that's it now, I'm just going to exist? Or are you going to say, despite that, I'm going to move forward? There's a man who lost his legs. He's from the UK. He was in the Afghan war, and he wears prosthetic legs. He's climbed 6 or 7 of the world's highest mountains with prosthetic legs.
Wow.
And when I look at him, I said to myself, whoa, I could do so much more. So that's the mindset that we need to have, is that there's always room for improvement. There's always room to grow. There's always room to be a better Verinin in whatever way, intellectually, spiritually, personally, as a partner, as a son, as a friend. And if we stop looking inward and making excuses and say, how do I move forward? We'd have such a progressive society where people constantly say to themselves, how do I do better? How can I be better?
I'm really fascinated with your journey, and I'm really excited about everything that's upcoming. And I know there's mountains ahead that you're going to climb and get ahead of. I want to know, where do you think all of this is leading you? Being a life coach, having these seminars and webinars that you host, an EQ coach, this climbing of mountains, tough things that you're doing. And you're also an author. We'll touch on that shortly. But like, where is all of these intersecting? Where is leading you in life? Or do you not? Or are you just exploring the journey for now?
I think I'm exploring the journey. I'm enjoying traveling to different places, different countries, making friends along the way. I mean, eventually I would like to complete the 7 summits. That is my ultimate goal and dream. But like I said, it's my mindset is every year do a different country, a different place, 2 or 3 different places if I can. This year I'm going to be doing 2 trips. And just keep doing what I love. And that's what I tell people, just keep doing what you love, which is, if you like writing or painting, keep doing more of that. So the things that bring you joy. I love interacting with people. I love motivating, inspiring people, whether it's in a formal setting as a coach or people that I meet. And I love the element of going to schools and teaching children a concept in a book that I might have written. So it's just about doing more of the things that I love and using my gifts and talents for good to impact the world, and hopefully leave that kind of legacy that, you know, that people will say, you said this and it changed my life, or you did this and it changed my life, or we had a coaching session and I'm a new person.
Well, I can talk to you for hours on end. So from going from aspiring author to an author, tell me about that journey of yours.
And that also was just a simple thing of, get it done, do it. I was so scared. The first book was on children's viruses, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't know how it's going to be. Is the text okay? What if nobody buys it? You know, but I learned that conquer that fear, get out there, get it done. You know, you build on it. So the first 2 books were published by a small publishing house. And the 3rd book, I had sent scripts to so many different publishers, and people had rejected and said, oh no, it's not, we're not interested. And finally, I was knocking on the door of Penguin Kids, which is an international company. And they saw the script and they asked more about who I am, what I do. And they liked the story and they liked the teaching of what was behind it, which is to teach resilience to kids. And they agreed to publish it. And that also is a little story on not giving up, because initially the first person at Penguin said no. And then somebody else picked it up and said, we kind of like it. So had I quit at that point and said, I'm not going to go down that route and shove this, and it's not, nobody's interested, it's not good, and I don't feel good about it, I would have never have known what was beyond that. So you have to build on things. You get better with each book. You get better with each podcast. You get better with each workout that you do. Keep building on it, keep growing, and just never ever give up, because you just don't know when the doors of the yes will open and say, we like it, come on in. That's where the resilience comes in.
Congratulations on your books, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Where can people find the latest book that's out?
So you can get it at Exclusive Books nationally, Take a Lot, and Loot online.
Fantastic. So you hear that, get your copy now. How did you manage putting that together? Because like, I'm sure it's not a quick process to write a book and to have it proofread and edited and get it ready for publishing. But you were just in Namibia recently as well?
Yes.
With the hype?
Yes.
Share something about that with us.
So, the book is a process. You know, you send your manuscripts and it goes back and forth through to editing, proofreading, illustrations, cover design. It takes about 18 months. And so that was completed in like April of this year. And if I had to talk a little bit about Namibia, well, I like to be in the outdoors exploring different countries. So I saw this thing which said Namib 100, hike in the sand dunes, 100 kilometers in the heat and the soft sand with a backpack over 5 days. And I just thought, why not? Sometimes I say to myself, what is stopping you from doing this? And if I say nothing, then let's just do it. So I said, let's do it. And it was really, it's very challenging being in the desert, and the sand is soft. So you really have to climb and put your legs through, and you have your backpack, and it's long days. The longest day we had one day was 28 Ks. So it was really challenging. But like I said, when you do overcome it, when you do see, wow, 100 Ks wasn't so bad. Now you can say, okay, fine, let's take the next hike, 150 Ks or 200 Ks. And you keep building on that. So that was a lovely experience, and to experience Namibia and to be in a different country was so beautiful. So it's very rewarding.
Very interesting. I'm certainly moved by your journey. I'm very fascinated with the stuff that you've accomplished. I feel the authenticity sitting here and speaking with you. From all the conversation that we had, I know you're true to what you say. Your content and the way you conduct yourself really carries that message along full circle. It's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. Can you please share details? How can people get hold of you, your company name, any social handles?
So I am on Facebook under my name, Shareez Bagaria, and on Instagram, Metamorphosis Life Coaching. And I also have a website, mlc.co.za.
Well, there you have it. Shareez Bagaria, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.